Welcome to the LegalTube podcast, presented by LawyerLocate.ca. Join us as we explore the latest trends, strategies, and tools for promoting your legal practice in the digital age. Hosted by Mark Robbins, CEO of LawyerLocate.ca, LegalTube, and Digital MSpace, where we're all about legal marketing online for Canadian lawyers. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. We're so glad that you took the time to listen or watch us. It's really great to have you. This is part two in an ongoing series that I'm running with Matt Fleischer, who is a marketing and advertising expert in the legal vertical. And what we're going to try and do in this series is we're going to try and help lawyers learn a better way to attract clients using tools like social media, like meta advertising, and we're going to try and show you how to do it in a cost-effective way. And when you come to these series, you're going to get at least a couple of real-world tips that it's not going to cost you anything, and we're going to offer that up to you. I'm going to say it now, and I'll probably say it at the end of the show. If you're interested in maybe joining a Zoom room, a private Zoom room with maybe 10 other like-minded lawyers, and to be there with Matt and I to get one-on-one advice on how to grow your practice, let me know in the comments. You can email me at info@lawyerlocate.ca, which will be down below in the description. You can reach out to Matt. His contact information will be there. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd like to hear your questions, your criticisms, whatever you want to tell us. Please reach out. So without further ado, here's Matt.
Hello.
Hi, Matt. How are you, buddy?
Be back.
Good. Anything you want to add to my little intro there, or did I cover most of what you think was important?
I think you covered it. I think what we were talking about earlier was kind of interesting. We are talking a little bit about Gary Vee.
Yeah, I sent you a couple of videos, some shorts that I follow Gary, and it showed up in my TikTok feed. And one of the ones that I'm going to paraphrase, I'm not going to quote, was something to the effect of he's telling everybody, go find a product that you hear everybody's looking for or they want, and go find a place where you can get it at a wholesale price, and then open up your TikTok store and just sell. And he said, and the part that got me is, I guarantee you will make $1 million net profit in 24 months. I guarantee it. Well, I like Gary Vee. I think a lot of what his stuff makes sense to me, but this is the stuff that I kind of knee jerk back going, well, wait a second. But you had an interesting take on the reply to me on my comment.
Yeah, I mean, look, is it exaggerated? It definitely is. Can you make that kind of guarantee? You really shouldn't. I don't think it's wise of him to make that kind of statement. I think a lot of people will they get disheartened, I can't speak today. But they lose their mojo if they don't see results right away. And when it comes to doing any kind of like internet marketing or selling live or anything like that, you have to be willing to show up and do the work. And that takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of showing up every day and making small adjustments to what it is that you're doing with your marketing. So is it impossible? It's not impossible. People do it all the time, but he's really talking to the people that are 1000% dedicated, that they're going to put all of their time and effort into that. And I think that's, half of it's kind of unfortunate because he's making these grand, statements about making money online, like that you can make $1 million. But there are the people out there that are doing it, and they're just doing it through pure grit and showing up every day.
So how do we take some of Gary, you follow Gary Vee. I know you know a lot about his philosophies. I do too. Going back to, when he talks about, I think it's one of his favorite stories of how he really kind of made his first big money was doing, going to garage sales, buying up stuff that he thought was collectible and then selling it. And, and he got really good at it. I understand he still does it. I guess he just likes that type of environment. But how do we extrapolate these types of influencers and narrow it down to, in our case, the Canadian legal vertical market? How do we take the knowledge and the tools that the Gary V's of the world are putting out there, and how do we kind of fine tune that so that Canadian lawyers can say, oh, I get that now, because otherwise they listen to a Gary V and they go, well, yeah, that's really cool, but I'm not selling widgets. I'm not selling T-shirts. I'm not doing TikTok live shop. Where's that going to benefit me? Now, I know I have my own ideas on just the last comment I made. How do I equate TikTok live shop? Well, doing what we're doing right now. So if you're a lawyer and you do this once a month, you do a little podcast, 30 minutes, and you give to the public potential, not legal advice, because I know you're governed by certain rules, but you can give them information that's a valuable tool to help people that are looking for a lawyer or are in some type of legal difficulty, depending on what your practice areas are. But how do you see it, Matt, from your side of the table?
I mean, I see it that if you're a lawyer, like, yes, you are limited in what you can talk about. Obviously, you can't really be giving legal advice necessarily, but the idea is the same. With what Gary Vee is pushing is literally it's the attention economy. That's unfortunately where we're at.
Right.
So just because you're not on there selling t-shirts and hoodies doesn't mean that you can't be on there helping people answer basic questions about law stuff, right? That could be, I know last time we spoke, I was giving the divorce example, but that's a whole process, right? There's a lead up to it. There's the signs that it's coming. Then there's the actual legality where all of that stuff kicks in. And there's a lot of ups and downs and questions that people have about that kind of thing. And I just love that example because it is a long drawn out process and people need help during that process. There's a clear beginning, middle, and end of it. And then post divorce, life afterwards. And if you were able to help people out throughout those steps and give them helpful advice, that's the attention that we're kind of talking about. Because what you're doing is you're gaining trust and authority within your lawyer, like within your law niche, whatever that is. And that's really what it's about. That's why people are posting on social media. That's why people post so much is they're trying to build their authority, their brand, and they're trying to really just become that voice where when you think, okay, I need a lawyer, where am I going to go? You're going to be the natural first pick, right? And that kind of goes for any niche, anything that you're zooming in on. If you were a used car salesman and you're constantly posting about maybe not necessarily the cars that you have, but you're just talking about the car market in general, how auto loans are, the rates on those are really high and Ford's cutting back and GM's cutting back or whatever, you're going to be the natural person that people think of when they're like, oh, okay, now I want a used car. I'm going to go to X, Y, and Z because they have a strong understanding of the niche and I trust them.
So, wait, to me, what you basically described, excuse me, is old school advertising in a digital world. Because old school advertising, the whole idea was to get your message out as frequently as possible on as many, whatever you could afford. If you could afford radio, television, print, it was always, you wanted to have continuity. The message had to be the same message. It's very similar to what we're all saying to any vertical, but in this case, lawyers, is you want your brand out there. You want your brand out there consistently. You want your face out there, because this is one where some lawyers don't understand that. But the difference between putting up a picture of you on a website or putting up a logo, people are drawn to people. They're not drawn to artwork. So like we do at Lawyer Locate with all of our new members. Like I said, we provide them basically their profile page is a mini website. If you ever gone there, folks, just do yourselves lawyers, do yourself a favor. Go to LawyerLocate.ca. Just randomly pick any lawyer you want and look at the profile page and look at what you're getting. Okay. But one of the things that we learned over 25 years of doing this legal directory, legal referral service was the lawyers that were reluctant to put their own picture up and they put a logo up got less traction, less unique visitors than the lawyers that put up their pictures. So we're going around a different way here. But like I say, when you describe that, it immediately made me think of traditional advertising. But traditional advertising, as we know, print is gone. Nobody's advertising newspapers because show me where there's a newspaper. I know you live in New York, and I think you still have print, but it's pretty much gone in the world. You get some magazines, but even those are targeted. They're not like. When's the last time you saw Sports Illustrated, as an example?
Fair. I mean, you
Right?
can run press releases though. It's digital,
Yeah,
but
it's
that's a
true.
really good way to get visibility if you want fast visibility. Is you
But where
can
are they going, Matt? If I'm doing a press release for Lawyer Locate,
Yeah.
where's it going to be seen?
Well, when you do a press release, like I don't know what it is up in Canada, but here we have a service that I use. It's called PR Web. Okay. And what they do is they have like different levels you can buy, but I usually get the cheapest one. And what's cool about it is they have distribution channels. So basically, like it'll get picked up in different news sites and different publications and bloggers and different things like that. Depends on what tier you buy if you were to go that route. But you really do get very fast visibility with it. It's kind of astounding.
Okay.
I've done it with affiliate marketing in the past and have had pretty good success rate with it. What's cool about that is you actually end up, if it gets picked up the right way, and that has to do with your SEO and how you position the titling and the actual content of the press release. But you can actually end up in things like Google News. So if you end up on Google News, you're going to start getting really fast traffic, which is
Well,
kind of
here's a
cool.
thought. We're going to be doing a third in this series at least. So I want to tease a little bit. I'm going to challenge you. You write a press release for lawyerlocate.ca to attract Canadian lawyers to come to our service. And when you've done that before, we won't do it, but what we'll do in series number 3, we'll show everybody what you did. We'll talk about how did you get there. I'm sure there'll be interchange between you and I off camera. We'll share all that information so we can actually show maybe one small facet. And here's a tip for the lawyers. Here's how you could do. You're a sole practitioner. You think that using a service like that's outside of your reach financially, and to discover, well, no, it isn't really outside your reach, and it is something that could drive clients to your practice. So that's it. I think that's you. Would you agree to doing that, Matt?
Absolutely. Let's do it. I think
Cool.
that'd be fun.
All right. So now we know. Make sure you stay tuned. So the next podcast you see from us, which will probably be mid-January, you'll have this answer, and it hopefully will be a great tool for you to learn and to use to build your practice up. Matt, let's talk a little bit about SEO, because this has always been, my experience with a lot of lawyers, even some of the young ones. SEO is so much smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of them that believe that SEO is just a big scam. There's a lot believe that all it is a way for Google to grab more money off you because they mix up SEO with Google AdWords, which is not the same thing, as you and I both know.
Yeah.
If you can kind of narrow it and talk a little bit about how SEO would be effective for the legal vertical.
Well, SEO is just, first of all, it's great because it's free traffic. So you can't beat free traffic. It's just about positioning content on your site or whatever it is that you're posting on the correct way so that it gets picked up. Now, it is smoke and mirrors to some degree because they're constantly changing what they're looking for and how they weigh different sites and stuff like that. Like there was a Google update about maybe like 2 years ago where it just crushed all the small websites, and all the huge prominent websites got all the traffic. And there was a huge thing where everybody's like, SEO's dead, this is horrible, whatever. And then they made corrections and they kind of swung it back the other way. So that is something that is smoke and mirrors, because it's always changing, they're always adjusting, and they're really trying to fight the spam AI stuff, because so much of the internet now is made up from AI content that their job now is to sift through all of it and make sure that they're providing the best result, right? Like that's what Google's there for. So if you were
Right.
to search for a lawyer in your town and you got results for the dry cleaners, well, because they did some fancy they did some spammy AI content on a laundry site for law stuff, which happens often enough, that kind of underhanded stuff. And if you were getting garbage results, then you're not going to want to use Google anymore. So they have to fight all of that. That's why it's always changing. In regards to the strength of it and how important it is, there's a lot to be said for getting up on the first page, first or second page of Google. It's really just about putting up good, helpful content. That's what they're looking for. There's really no way to like game the system. I always advise against trying to worry about backlinks, and paying for backlinks is like a big thing that people will do. It doesn't usually result in much. But just think about it. If you were to search for divorce lawyer in your province or town or whatever that is, look at who your competitors are, who shows up in your town. And then just think about that. Let's say there's 100 people in your town that are searching that per month. That means that they're probably getting a significant percentage of those jobs from those people. So yeah, so it's huge impact. I mean, that could be tens of thousands of dollars. That could be a client that stays with you for 5 or 10 years.
Right. And that's the thing that most practice areas in law in Canada, it's the long term. And there's a lot of clients you get that are one-offs, but then there's a lot of those clients that you get that are repeat clients depending on the area of law, especially in business. And then you also get word of mouth. So in one sense, going back to doing a podcast and doing content and putting content on social media, that's the new word of mouth. Because what you're essentially doing is you're putting yourself out there so that people can get to know you and get to see who you are, not just as a lawyer, but as a person, and what your interests are. Back to Gary Vee seems to be our topic today. Watched another video today where he said, go out there and admit, he said, I want you to go do a video right now. He said, I want you to go do a video and you're going to admit how you fucked up. So just go out there and think of a mistake you made that really fucked things up for you in life, in business, whatever, and put it out there.
Yeah.
And watch what happens. So, and I mean, generally what I get from that is, don't stay in your niche, which I firmly believe that. I think that you need to be talking about other things than just law. Yes, you want to give some help to people, but you also want to talk about how much you love fishing, or, whatever your thing is, how much you love the Toronto Maple Leafs or how much you hate them, because everybody loves to hate them. So, those are the things that make sense. Now, I had guests on my show, I don't know, 6 months ago, two Vancouver, BC lawyers. Paul Terzenko and Kyla Lee. And Kyla's a DUI specialist, but they also have a distillery. So my podcast, of course, we talked about legal marketing, and Paul had been a member of Lawyer Locate for probably 15 years, and then he went in a different direction. But we were able to talk about law. We were able to talk about legal marketing. We were able to talk about Paul. He loves cars. He has a great car collection. And then we got into the distillery. And it was go Matt, you should go watch that show. You'd actually get a kick out of it. But it just shows you, and they get huge traction on socials. They really get it, and they're doing content. I'm going to say almost daily. Certainly, they're doing TikToks daily. You know, the front seat of the car stuff, the up close at his desk. You know, where all you're getting is the face, and he's talking about something that's topical for 60 seconds to 80 seconds, and then poof. So that's a real, and that's, you know what I say to lawyers, that's not hard to do. You don't have to
So
be,
easy.
you don't have to be LegalTube, producing, your podcast for you. You can do this on your own. We can show you how you could do it on your own without too much fuss and put decent content out. But on the short form content, that's got to be the easiest thing in the world. Get yourself a little iPhone stand, tripod for your car, put it on your dashboard, aim it at your face, and talk.
It
It's
really is the easiest thing. I mean, it's funny you say that because I have a piece of content up where I'll have it like framed nicely and I'm screen recording so everything's very clean and bright and looks good. And then I have this one video where it's like over the shoulder looking at a whiteboard, like a physical whiteboard on my desk. It's off-centered, it looks terrible, the lighting's awful. It has the
right.
best engagement out of anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why do I go through all the trouble of trying to make this thing look perfect when that's not why people are tuning in? And I think that's really important. Like you want clear sound, obviously, but if
Right.
you're just using a phone, like the phone is awesome. I'm literally right now with this is my phone recording right now. Is
Yeah.
my iPhone. This is
Yeah.
plugged in to an outlet.
Well, as this, I'm a retired private investigator, and photography was a huge part of what my business
Oh,
was.
I'm
So I
sure.
know a lot about photography.
Yeah.
And you couldn't,
You got
I
those
bought
long
my
lenses,
wife,
right?
yeah, I bought my wife a new 35 millimeter SLR, a Canon, when we moved out to the mountains because she's an amateur photographer. But I won't. This is my camera. You can't buy for the price I pay for my iPhone the camera ability in an SLR for the price point, right? I mean, I'm not even interested in an SLR anymore, right?
Yeah.
I'll get attachments for my camera to make it easier when I'm outdoors trying to do wildlife and mountain shooting, that I can hold it better and I'm not going to lose it or drop it. But yeah, it's that simple. It's put this up in front of your face, and here, pro tip, do it this way. Don't talk into the face forward. You don't need to see yourself. There's no need for that. And your camera quality on your lenses on the back are far better than the forward facing camera. So there's your pro tip.
Yeah. I just make it easy. I don't know. It's just easier to make it as easy as possible for yourself. So like for me, I've got a light, I've got the holder, I've got the phone, I've got a mic, but all together, I mean, I probably spent 150 on the light. Obviously, I have a phone, so whatever that costs. The stand was $10.
Yeah.
The microphone was like 25 maybe. It's not even a great mic, but I just have it set up so that I can just bang out a video whenever I want to. And
Right.
that is really what's key because I think a lot of people get discouraged by the setup and you got to look the right way and the lighting's got to be perfect and all this stuff. Everything needs to be perfect. But the problem with that is you're never going to get it done. You just don't do it. And then you blink and it's 6 months later and nothing's changed, you know?
Yeah.
Just make it easy. And then you just make a video. Oh, okay, I'm going to make a video. And the thing is, with all this stuff, whether you're doing social media, YouTube channel, ads, whatever it is, you need to like they call it going ugly fast. You just have to like start putting stuff out there
Right.
and you will make improvements as you go, but you have to just get started.
Yeah.
Too many people like they just talk about they ask a million questions about getting started without getting started, and it blows my mind because it's like for all the energy that you're putting into asking questions, you can learn firsthand just by doing it.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Exactly.
interesting? Like, isn't that
And I tell everybody, to kind of parallel it. So I had another guest. God, I can't remember when she was on. Also a podcaster in the States, and she had, we had great and we cut out shorts as I do with all my podcasts. You do too. And one short came up was when we were talking about flubs and mistakes, and when celebrities flub, and when I said people eat that up. Well, like that got the highest traction of all the shorts from that show was the conversation about flubs and making mistakes on camera.
Yeah.
Because I tell everybody, and I'm kind of a bit of a preacher on this one, is I don't want to see, nobody wants to see a polished, we'll say for your sake, and
Commercial. Yeah.
it's NBC News 6 o'clock look. Nobody wants
Yeah.
that. They want to
Well,
see you make mistakes. They want, right now, my voice is effing up,
right.
right? Because I'm getting over a cold. I'm not going to fix this.
Right.
When in post, we're not going to fix it. It's going to stay the way it is because I'm human. I got this weird goddamn bug that's going around. So, but I'm still able to do my show, and we can talk. And that's what's important. Is you're right, Matt. You got to make the decision of I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
wrong,
I
good,
think
bad.
something I
Go
think
ahead.
something that lawyers probably struggle with is they want to come off as professional and they want to come off as all-knowing on their
Yeah.
topic, and they don't want to show any mess ups because they're trying to portray themselves in a certain light to be like, I know exactly what I'm talking about. So I think that that's probably, if I had to guess, that's probably part of the friction with it.
Yeah, I told you this before. I had Jared Correa on my show, and I've been on his podcast. And if you don't know him, he's an American. He was a lawyer, licensed practice, but now he comes in and helps law firms to market their practices. And when we both agreed, one of the biggest things that always baffled the shit out of me is that most lawyers, depending on the county lawyer, but we can say family law, criminal law, civil litigation, these lawyers are all used to standing up in a courtroom and giving speeches. Put the
Yep.
camera in front of their face, and all of a sudden it's like, and like Jared and I said, like, I don't get it. You get paid to do this.
Yeah.
And now because you're in wherever your office, you got a camera or a phone in front of your face, you're stumbling.
Yep.
It's trying to get them over that preconceived fear of the camera.
Yes.
And I'm not the best looking guy in the
It's
world,
uncomfortable.
and I don't let my ego get in the way because I'm not here to sell, that I got a really great gray mustache and I wear
Yep.
a really cool Lawyer Locate hat. I'm here to talk about here's content that we can help you with. Here's things we can give you that will help increase your billable hours and grow your practice. And that's the purpose of this series, folks, is that ultimately, and throughout this show, we've given you a couple of tips. Matt and I are trying to fine tune this as well so that
Yeah.
we can really get it to a point where you really want to come to a private Zoom room with Matt and I and have one-on-one sessions with 10 other like-minded lawyers. That's the goal. It's not going to cost you. This is
Yeah.
not, we're not selling tickets.
We're really not. And honestly, you get to just ask whatever questions you want. Like it could be as low bar or high bar as you want. We're going to give you the best answer that we can. Something you touched on, I lost my train of thought on it. Sorry.
That's okay, no problem. One
It'll
thing I
come
did
back.
notice, sit back a bit for a second. Did I send you a memo to wear a polo shirt?
I always wear polo. Are you wearing
What?
the same one?
I just noticed at the beginning of the
That's
show. And I went,
funny.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I think it's funny you mentioned the thing with the people getting a camera in front of their face and they get locked up. I once had to interview a bunch of police officers for a film gig, and I got permission ahead of time and all this stuff. And I just remember meeting with these guys, NYPD, in the station, had a list of questions I wanted to run through with them. And as soon as you pull out a camera, it's like
Yeah.
total freeze. Like, oh, I don't want to, like they can't get through it. And it's funny also that you say that because it was the exact thought in my head. It's like you're literally on the street dealing with the scum of the earth every
Right.
day, right? You're busting people, you're screaming at people, you're telling them, whatever, you're chasing people down, or you're just standing around just being cordial, hopefully being cordial to people. Um, yeah, I don't know. You just got to get over it and just start putting yourself out there. I think it's really important. If you're, if people don't know, I know what I was going to say. What's great about social media, and I think this is kind of the key point of wanting to become that authority in some degree. Again, you don't even have to be on camera, right? You could just record a video where you're just showing your screen
Right.
and or you're showing a blackboard or whatever it is. But the point is to get people to start messaging you and to get in contact with you because if you can get them onto a call, that's the lead that you're looking for. And what's great about social media is it's fast data. Like you can literally post a video at 9 a.m. and by noon you might have 1,000 views on it. And
Right.
and out of the 1,000 views, let's say 1% decide to actually reach out. Well, that could be 10 people. Now, is that going to happen day one? Probably not. You're going to have to tune your messaging. You're going to have a clear place for people to go to. You're going to have a couple of things in place to make sure that all those pieces fit together. But even if it's, 1% of a percent, like a fraction of that, you might still get that one person. And that one person might be a client that you keep for a year, and I think that that's really what's key is the amount of effort that you need to put into this is minuscule compared to the payout afterwards. And that goes for not just social media and ads, but also SEO and getting yourself some visibility on a site where it's a small amount of input and a huge amount of output.
So the parallel that to that is when we started LawyerLocate.ca 25 years ago, we used telemarketing to reach out to lawyers and to try and get them involved with it. And one of the things that kind of a pitch that I developed over the year at that time and over the years was quite simple. We know that the average retainer in most categories of law in Canada is between $3,000 and $5,000. A Lawyer Locate membership at that time was $475 a year. So my pitch was, if I get you one client, you've more than paid for the service and everything else you get from me is free.
Yeah.
Now we come forward to 2025. I say the same thing. Same amounts of money, might be a bit higher now. It's more like probably 5,000 to 8,000 is the average retainer Canadian up here. Our membership is $90 a month. You don't have to be an accountant or a brain surgeon to figure out there's huge value in being involved with Lawyer Locate with a 25-year track record online. And I challenge, and please somebody do this and put it in the comments so it's not just me. Find me any company that's been online successfully for 25 years and please put it in the comments. Because I don't think you're going to find anybody that's been 25 years and still going. But Lawyer Locate is that company. So, we've been working to make legal connections for 25 years. It's an effective tool. And that same tool, you could look at us, and I'm going to swing it back to you, Matt. You could almost say that like Meta and your different advertising platforms, Lawyer Locate's almost a bit of an advertising platform for you. So let's go back and get into your expertise and let's talk about the stuff you do with Meta and how
Sure.
that relates and how it could relate to lawyers.
Well, the stuff that I do with Meta, what most people do, and this goes for any ad platform, it's not just Meta, but I use Meta predominantly, so that's why I say Meta so much. But what's what this there's two ways that you can go about advertising on these platforms. I mean, there's a million different ways, but the two ways that I see very clearly as like the fork in the road is whether or not you're advertising to cold traffic, yes or no. And if you're advertising to cold traffic, these are people that have never seen you, interacted with you, done any business with you. They have no idea who you are. And this goes not just for lawyers, it goes for fitness studios, pretty much anything, e-commerce. A lot of people struggle big time because of the costs involved. And that's very prominent in Google with their AdWords, where you're paying per click, right? So if you're looking for a lawyer in a specific area or certain types of law, you could be paying $50 in US. You could be paying, let's say, $50 to $100, all the way up to six, seven, $800 a click, right? So the costs for that might seem completely unreasonable. And then for Meta, a lot of people complain. I'm on Reddit a lot, and I'm in the Facebook, the Meta ads group a lot, and I see people always struggling with this because they're paying top dollar for their ads, and it's unsustainable. So what I do is I use a technique of basically harnessing the data that these platforms give you, because they all give you data, and it's really up to you to use it. And they don't really talk about that. But when it comes to Google as well, you can start building, think of it like an invisible list. You can start building out your invisible list of people that see your content. And then once you have that list, let's say you get 1,000 people that have seen a quarter, 25% of your helpful video. Let's say we took this podcast, right? So this is I don't know how long we've been running, about 40 minutes maybe.
Yeah, about 40 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you posted this video up as an ad. Let's say we did 25% data that we want to see. That means people have watched, 10, 15 minutes of the video. They get put onto an invisible list. And then what we're doing is we're then sending them other content relating to the niche, whatever that is. And then that's going to warm people up. So that's what I usually do is I warm people up with what I'm doing. And the strength of that is you end up with a lower ad cost. You end up with a higher conversion rate of people engaging with you. And there's a bunch of positives to it. And essentially what it does is we're using it as a filter to get people down to the bottom of the funnel where they're starting to call us or they're messaging us with questions. They want to hop on a call. They got a question about X, Y, and Z. Can we set up a time? And
Right.
you can handle that however you want. With if you have a CRM, you could just have that do it. You can have it collect the lead for you. You can reach out on your own. They can literally direct phone call you. It's kind of amazing what you can do with it, but most people don't do that and don't understand it either because it's crazy.
Yeah. Again, and we're going to circle back because that's just the kind of guy I am, and say maybe you and I should think about showing some type of practical demonstration of how that would work. We can use Lawyer Locate as the
Sure.
client, and then we can map it out and show them, here's what we did, here's what it cost, and here's where the results are and what the results are coming in the future. I think that would be probably a
Absolutely.
really good one for us to talk about.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll share my screen. Let me share.
Okay.
I'll do a whiteboard if that's cool.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's see. Hang on one sec. Let me see if I can do I have to share the whole screen. Okay. Can you see?
There you go.
You can see. All right, so I'm doing
Yep.
this on an iPad, so the sizing is gonna be weird, okay?
That's okay.
Won't be perfect. But essentially what I'm talking about when you're doing ads is what most people do is they have their ad, right? And they've got some, call us right now, and they're running that directly to new people. And the problem with this is, as I was saying, don't mean to repeat myself a whole lot here,
Good.
but the problem with this is you're bidding on basically think of it like a cloud, and these are the people that Meta's going to go out there and show your ad to. Okay. So when you do this, a lot of people will find success doing this by, maybe they're spending $5 or $10 a day, maybe $25 a day on their ads. And then as soon as they start upping their budget, because they're like, oh, I want more leads. I'm trying to grow this thing. I want to scale my business. And, I'm not seeing enough traction quick enough. What they'll do is they'll set it to like, whoops, they'll set it to $50 or more. And all of a sudden, this whole thing collapses because what they end up seeing is their costs go sky high, their conversion rate plummets, and the ROAS, their return on the investment, is completely decimated. So, what I propose doing instead, and what has worked for me, is you put out the helpful content that we're talking about where there is really no call to action, because the goal of it is not to get somebody to call immediately. You have to think of it like this. Let's say this is the pie, right? And 97% of it is not interested in your services yet. Okay. So if you were to walk into a room, 100 people, and you say, who needs a lawyer? Most people are going to not necessarily say that they need a lawyer. Okay. And
Right.
then we've got like a 2 to 3% cut over here. And these people need a lawyer right now. Right. So what everybody seems to do is they advertise directly to the 2 to 3% of the group. And what that's going to do is it's going to boost the costs sky high. That's why when you go on Google AdWords and you're checking your keywords and stuff, that's why you'll end up paying hundreds of dollars per click. Everybody's
Right.
focused on the 2 to 3%. Instead, it's a slower burn. And what you do is instead of having a call to action, you're making like a 3 to 5 minute video of helpful stuff. And then you're just collecting the data on that. So you let this run at like $5 a day, which is very inexpensive if you think about it. Handwriting's horrible. But you're running this 3 to 5 minute video, and I would do like three different ones, all hitting on the different pain points and giving something helpful in it. So if you deal with like speeding tickets, right, you can give like, here's 3 things you can do to lower the penalty of a speeding ticket or to get points off, or whatever it is. But what we're doing is we're really looking for the people that watch 25% of this video. That's really the key point, because what we're going to do then is you can create, they call it a custom audience, not to get too technical, but what you do is you create a custom audience of the people that watch 25%. So now we've got people that are super interested in what you have to say, right? So you see how we already filtered from everybody down to the people that watched at least 25%. And you can set that to 50, 75%, 95% of watch time, okay? And there's different metrics you can use. It's not just watch time. But now we've got a much more consolidated group of people that are interested. And then what we can do is then we advertise to those people something different. And that's where we start putting different pieces of content in front of those people, because they're already interested. Maybe they're not in their divorce yet, but you want to catch them before they end up going through that process, right? Or, name any other niche in the law niche, but you
Right.
want to catch people before they need a lawyer. And really what we start doing is we start retargeting. It's called retargeting or remarketing. But that's what you're doing, is then you're putting helpful other pieces of content in front of them. And once you have 6, 8, 10 different pieces of content running, Meta's going to cycle through all those pieces and show it to them in whatever order it deems necessary. And what it does is it actually acts as a funnel, to literally get people to take action. So at this point, you could start having people call you, and whatever your CTA is, your call to action, we're kind of like distilling. If you were to like boil off salt water and trying to get the salt at the bottom, that's kind of what we're doing with
Right.
data. And that's kind of the gist of it. And when you do this, you end up with a much lower cost because you're building your own audience. And what's great about this is the initial views where you're collecting that data, you can get the views for like 2 cents a view. So you can very quickly build out your list. You could get 1,000 people on the list for like a couple, $100 or whatever.
Right.
It's kind of insane the amount of leverage that you get out of this.
Perfect.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes perfect sense to me. It certainly makes it look cost effective. And that's always, the thing everybody, I don't care what business, but lawyers are no different, is they're always managing their costs, especially in the sole practitioner or small boutique firm model, which is becoming more and more predominant.
Yeah.
They're not a big law firm that's got a big advertising budget that they can draw on. So yeah, I totally agree with you. So
Yeah.
bring us
I mean,
back.
yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. I was just going to mention for just really quick, the other thing that's great about this is, let's say you were doing YouTube as well. It's the same thing. You can build a custom audience of people that watch either your ads on the platform or that have interacted with the account or that have watched your content in the last year. You can populate that list just on that alone.
Okay.
Just want to make that point because I think
Yep.
it's important. Yeah. What were
Okay.
you gonna
So
say?
if you drop your whiteboard,
You got it.
thanks. So a couple of things that I want to touch on that maybe we'll probably address in greater detail in the next podcast. You mentioned YouTube. I'm glad you brought that up because sometimes it's the obvious thing that we forget about, and it is a platform for advertising. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer, and I don't think it's necessarily a great thing, but as people that follow my podcast or know me personally, I've been banging this drum for a long time. I think blogging is dead. I've been argued with everybody from SEO experts to legal people. Oh, the blog. Yeah, nobody's reading. Sorry to break it to you. Nobody's reading. Okay. I mean, I know it's like you like to think it's a great thing. Unfortunately, the globe has the attention span of a gnat. Hence, TikTok is so successful because this is what you do. This is what you do
Yeah.
all morning. Oh, I
Well,
like that one. Oh,
I
no.
mean, to counter that, I don't think blogging is dead at all. I think it's changing, and I think that there's a huge shift happening because it's like AI came out of nowhere and took over the internet, and it kind of like killed trust in so much stuff because anybody can make this content now, and you don't have to know anything at all. But with that, there's also the pushback that's occurring because it's been spam. There's so much spam that they're now correcting the other way. And I think more than ever, people are looking for that independent voice, that small blog that might actually have the helpful information on it. I mean, when was the last time? Maybe it's been a while, but when was the last time you found a website that looked like it was from 1995, but it had like the best data on it? Like
Well,
it's,
I would say that I see a lot in my vertical with lawyers. I see a lot of 1980s websites, never mind 1995,
yeah,
that are,
but it works.
they might have. No, it doesn't work. Matt, I'll go to the
Oh,
grave. You are
it
not going to
will.
get people. I find people. Like I said, it's a broad brush, but I'm going to say a large percentage of the population, and you can pick whatever age demographic, you can start from 18 to 60, don't want to read. This is why YouTube is, and I think Google lies because I think YouTube is now the number one search engine, way past Google. That's my belief. And I think that Google doesn't want to give that up because then
Of
it
course.
diminishes their Google and their AdWords. But I honestly believe that more people go to YouTube to search for information than they do to Google.
Well,
I
it depends.
think that the AI changes on searching is
Mm,
going to change the whole thing. And I mean, it already has impacted dramatically on Google, so that Google's had to change their approach so that they can compete with AI searches, right? I'm not as negative on AI as a lot of people are because of my background. So I don't give a shit what my source is. I'm still going to fact check it because that's just who that's that in this world. Even when we had alleged legit media, mainstream media, I always fact check stories because there was a lot of crap even 20 years ago, 30 years ago that was coming out from mainstream media that was just utter bullshit.
yeah.
So I think that's a reality that we accept living in this modern world.
Mm,
I think AI's benefits far outweigh its negatives. That's and I think we're going to
I agree.
discover that as we go forward.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted to get back to where we can go with video, and you touch on a good thing here. So instead of doing, Mr. Lawyer, Mr. Canadian sole practitioner, instead of taking 3 days to write a 2,000 word blog post about the ins and outs of a separation agreement, do a 3 minute video.
Do
You will
both.
get more traction from the 3 minute video than you will ever get. We have a lawyer, and I'm not going to name him, but he's a wills in the States lawyer, and he's been around forever.
Yeah.
But he's so old school. He does like 5 page blog posts with all the annotations and all this, like my partner Natalie, who has to do all this and put it up on their website. It takes
Yeah.
her like a week to go through all this shit, and we know the only people reading it, if any, are other estate lawyers, and it's not
Mm.
getting them one freaking client. But there's some people, you can. What's that joke? You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. It's the
Well,
same thing. It's like the ones that believe in blogging. It's that's been our mainstay. It's like, guys, times have changed. Get with the times. So one of the things I think we'll also want to talk about going forward, Matt, and maybe I can help, and I'll pull some numbers to just show what the differences are between the traction a blog gets and the traction a video gets. And I
well,
think,
I gotta disagree with you a little bit
okay, go
because
ahead.
I think I see your point about the state lawyer, and maybe it is too highbrow that he really is talking to more estate lawyers, right? He, I don't know what his business is. Maybe that's a goal of his business is to coach
No.
other real. No, I know, but I'm just saying when it comes to solo law practices and people that are on their own that have smaller budgets and stuff, I would say definitely consider doing both because you don't need a 5 page blog post. You don't have to go absolutely crazy. But what people are looking for is the hard data. So maybe they don't want to see a meandering blog post about how your day was. But, if I could share my screen again, I'll show you a website, but it's all data, if you're putting out good, helpful data, that is helpful to people and people want to see that. So let's
I'm
say
not. Before you do
people,
this, I'm not saying don't blog, but I'm saying you've got to really look at your time management. And again, I say solo practitioners because they're the guys that are very time constricted. They don't have big office. They don't have support staff. They don't have anybody doing. They're likely not hiring a company like us, like LegalTube or Digital M Space, to help them with their social media. So
yeah,
it's about choices. And I'm not saying you don't want good content. Yes, I would rather see good content on your website that's not a blog, but it's part of your core website. I'd rather see a really good FAQ. If
yes.
you've got a good FAQ section, you don't need blogs. I'm sorry, and you and I may agree to disagree, Matt, but I don't see the results that support that blogs are even remotely close to getting the traction that video does. It's not there. Not when you're looking at the general public, the average Joe that's looking for a lawyer. Do you think the average Joe wants to read your blog post on the ins and outs of DUI? No. But he'll listen to you talk about the ins and outs and what the impact is of a breathalyzer, whether they've been calibrated, and the questions you should be asking of the police officers and the information you should be looking for in discovery. And you can do that in a 3-minute video, you're going to get traction. And you can't tell me you won't.
Well, no, you will get traction. I just think that it's important to have something to point people to. And that is kind of the other half of this that we're not really talking about, because we're not really covering, like, yes, you have to be very mindful of your time. You have to put the least amount of time into something that's going to get you the most amount of leverage, right? So you don't want to waste a year putting together blog posts that nobody's reading.
Right.
Obviously. 100% agree with that. When it comes to video, it's fast traffic. You can get a lot of people very quickly, but we're not necessarily trying to get everybody. We're trying to get a very narrow, focused part of the equation, right? We're trying to get people that are interested in a specific type of law, that are interested in certain types of data.
Right.
And if you were to make a video and then you were to say, hey, by the way, let's say the video covers, I'm going to go in my divorce
Yeah.
example, but whatever, what you do is you could say, hey, by the way, click the link below. I've got a PDF guide. You can have it for free. It's going to literally step you through the entire process of a divorce, start to finish. But
that's not a blog post, Matt. Now you're skewing it. That's not no. I have no problem with linking PDFs that have explanations on the topic that you've just talked about. I have no problem with that.
You can make it a blog post, though.
But that's not a blog post.
It doesn't matter.
The metrics on the websites we built, and we've built hundreds of websites.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you the number of people that go to the blog page is less than 0.5% of the people that go to that website for different reasons. So, the numbers don't lie. You have to look at who's looking. And would I be better off? Here's an example, and then we're going to wrap it up. Would you be better off on your website embedding your YouTube channel and changing your video every month to your featured video of that page instead of a blog page? Absolutely. It would perform better. I have no doubt in my mind.
Well, it would. I do that. I literally do that. When I make a new blog post, if I'm posting about something, I'll literally have a video, and I do both because I point people to that as the resource. Right. So I use it as a blog post. I might have the PDF on there, but that doesn't mean it's not a blog post. I'll do all of it.
Right.
And the thing with this is it's going to help with the SEO. And that's kind of the key point with all of this is that, let's say you're on Lawyer Locate, you have your profile there, you're pointing it back to your site, you have your resources there of what it is that you cover, all that stuff. And just the SEO between the backlink, having the content on the site, having a video on the page, all of that stuff is what Google's looking for to rank you. So like you can literally be ranked. Maybe it won't rank you on the text. Maybe it does, but it might rank you on the thumbnail image. It might rank you on the video itself. There's all kinds. It might rank you just on the fact, like you said before. It can rank you in the AI overview just based on your frequently asked questions. So it's kind of like this weird mix of everything.
Yeah, and again, as you know, the algorithms keep changing, and we're like Natalie is an organic SEO expert and has been for too many years, and she struggles now with some of the changes, and because her comment to me about a month ago was, content is no longer king, and what she meant by that was the text content is no longer king. That drove Google 100%. The more text content you had, the better your ranking was. That's gone.
Yeah. Yes, that is gone.
So now we're getting into all these other, like I said, video seems to be king. Now AI is starting to get into the picture here of having your content and that geared towards AI instead of geared towards Google. Google's trying to get in there and become part of that party. So all of this it's a really rapidly moving target. Anyway, Matt, we've run it again long as usual because I don't shut up and neither do you.
There's a lot to cover. It's good
I
stuff.
know there is. So let's go back again. So everybody, at the beginning of the show, if you didn't catch it and you've just caught the end of the show, that's fine. Listen, if you want to learn how to cost effectively promote your law firm or your practice and using social media and using these tools that Matt and I talk about, and you want to participate in maybe a 10-person one-on-one private Zoom meeting where you can ask us anything and we will do our best to answer in detail at no cost, please leave a comment. Please email me, info@lawyerlocate.ca. Email Matt. His information is in the description. Let us know and give us your thoughts. Give us your ideas. Give us your criticisms. We want to hear it. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. I did once. It's my first wife. Anyway.
And I have access to different tools and stuff, and I'm more than happy to share with that,
Right.
Share all of that on the call too. So I think you might as well take advantage of it because it doesn't cost you anything. You'll just benefit.
Exactly. And then lastly, I want to say, because we've talked about podcasts and we've talked about YouTube, we've talked about blogging, but we haven't talked about, and maybe we'll touch on this in series number 3. We have to talk about the podcast platforms, because the podcast platforms are a different animal completely, and especially now platforms like Spotify is really pushing advertising. They seem to say they have the numbers to support that it's worthwhile investing in Spotify ads. I'm not convinced yet. We personally use, to manage our podcasts and our clients' podcasts, we use Podbean just because it's a relatively inexpensive interface that I can have multiple accounts and be able to manage the podcast. But like everybody else, our podcast appears on all the platforms. It's something that we probably should discuss more as we get deeper into the advantages of podcasting, because that is podcasting also is not going away.
No, and that's a good opportunity for advertising too, because if it's brand new, relatively new, it's going to be way cheaper to advertise on there. I know WhatsApp just started doing that too. You can advertise there. It's like pennies on the dollar.
Exactly. Anyway, guys, this is going to wrap it up for this show, this podcast. Matt, thank you so much as usual. You're a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information. Anybody that gets this video, and you'll see our shorts will be up, that hopefully will be very topical, so that you can pull out little pieces of what we talked about where we think it's important for you. Stay tuned. Please like, follow, subscribe on all platforms so you can get informed about when the next show is coming up. All the contact information for Matt is in the description. Our contact information is there. Feel free to reach out for anything that you think you might help with. You might need help with. Yeah, my mouse not working today either. As one of my clients used to say about his business, but I'm going to relate it to us. If you think you need help marketing your legal practice, you probably do. Reach out to us, at least get a free consult to find out what we can do to help you, and what your costs may be or what your costs may not be. Give it some thought. Thanks everybody for listening. Look forward to talking to you in the next podcast. Take care. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the LegalTube podcast. Ready to take your legal marketing to the next level? Our show delivers expert insights and practical advice to help you succeed in today's competitive legal landscape. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this podcast is for you. For more information, check out LawyerLocate.ca. And if you have any questions, get in touch with us. Thanks for listening.